Next, we have Mr. Alan Dinsmore. Mr. Dinsmore, good morning.
Thank you, and good morning, Committee Member Alexander. I'm pleased to be able to provide this statement on behalf of the Elder Think Tank, which is a project of the Metro DC Gay, Lesbian, Bisexual, and Transsexual Community Center. This is really a first for us, and we do appreciate the opportunity to testify. In the interest of time, I will also summarize my statement and ask that the full statement be submitted for the record. Our mission is to provide support and advocacy for aging members of the GLBT population and those who provide services to them. The mission is accomplished through the identification of needs and concerns and provision or facilitation of education and training. We particularly want to commend Dr. Clarence Brown and the staff of the Office on Aging for their leadership in assisting us to make some very significant progress in our mission, and the Mayor's Office of GLBT Affairs for helping to connect us to the Office on Aging. In early January of this year, Mr. Thomas and I were invited to address a regular meeting of the providers of services to aging in the District of Columbia. At that time, we discussed the need to include a question in the standard intake form that would allow individuals to identify these providers that they are GLBT persons. It is our understanding that this question will be considered for incorporation in the next scheduled modification of this form. We have also looked at the various initiatives in the FY09 performance plan for the Office on Aging, and particularly want to support Initiative 4.4, a needs assessment, which in the form of the FY09 performance plan does also provide for the possibility of providing a GLBT needs assessment. We look forward to assisting the Office on Aging in collection of this data. Every person who works with and advocates programs for our older citizens, all older citizens, knows well the diverse nature of this population. The differences apply to our population too. For example, the experience can be quite different, and this is very significant for outreach programs. If you're 55 years old now, you were about 15 when the first gay and lesbian citywide marches and demonstrations occurred. Coming of age with these events and all that happened is quite different than the experience of today's 75-year-old who grew up in a time when everything had to be hidden. I must emphasize that we are not just asking for appropriate services. We provide these services. Out and Aging, the Metropolitan Life Study of lesbian and gay baby boomers, published in November of 2006, collected the first ever data. I would make 2 points here from some of them that have been made in this study. That is that 1 in 4 respondents provided care for an adult family member. Previous studies of the U.S. population as a whole found only 1 in 5 as a caregiver. 36% of GLBT boomers who are caregivers are caring for parents, about 18% are caring for partners, and an additional 26% are caring for friends and other non-relatives. There are 4 necessary steps that we think should be undertaken. The first is the one that I have mentioned, the collection and dissemination of data and analysis on the real lives and public policies of our GLBT seniors in Washington, D.C. Also, working with aging service providers in the District of Columbia to include the needs of the population, training our own elders to be effective advocates for all of these services, and working to establish marriage rights and make our elders aware of partnership rights in the District of Columbia. Again, we appreciate this opportunity to provide this testimony, and I'm ready to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. What are some of the specific special needs of our gay senior population?
One of the most special needs is also a need, I think, that is very similar to the needs in the general population, in that there is a segment of individuals who simply have no one to call on. They may have a few friends and family, but their friends and often their family are very close to the same age as that individual, so they're very, very vulnerable. For those individuals also, the fact that they have remained hidden for most of their lives can be very important for service providers. They may be reluctant, unless circumstances are really provided that are friendly to their needs, for them to tell someone who they are and what they need and what they would like to be connected to.
Well, how do you reach out to that population? You mentioned they're hidden, they're not comfortable with speaking out. So
Well, right now what we're doing at the center is providing some programs that we think would have a comfort level to them. For example, planning for your own aging, planning to provide the kinds of services that you need. We have also invited people to various kinds of forums for planning for your legal services and planning for independence in making those legal decisions. This is what we've been doing to try to bring some of the people out. It's very important also for us to have this identification because we're also looking at an age cohort coming up of my age, which is in my case 66. I'll be much more used to telling people what my needs are, and I really need for them to have that kind of identification.
Well, I appreciate your testimony, and that's important to point that out. A lot of people may not be aware of those specific needs in our senior population. Have any of the seniors taken advantage of the domestic partnership laws that are now in place?
We don't know that right now. This is one of the reasons why it's important for us to begin this data collection.
Thank you for your testimony.